On youth services students are here and we are discussing bloom like a lotus. This session which we are going to discuss will be in series, and today we are going to have the first part of the series. Personally speaking, this particular session has helped me a lot, and also at different places when I shared, different friends of mine and different youth, they very much appreciate it because it helped them in their wonderfully blooming in their life. So I welcome you in our seminar, Bloom Like a Lotus. So my dear friends, I would start. I hope you are able to see the presentation. So here you are seeing a wonderful lotus. All of you might have also seen it at different places in some pond or in your locality nearby, different lotuses. And lotus is such commonly seen for an Indian person. Lotus is considered as the national flower of our country, and lotus has so many wonderful qualities. However, the lotus signifies to all of us, we will be seeing in our discussion. So let's see. Yeah. Okay. So lotus, an amazing flower. You might be seeing in the screen. It is the definition. It is a sacred flower and occupies a unique position in the art and history of ancient India, and has been auspicious symbol of Indian culture since time immemorial. So this is like Wikipedia says lotus like this. Now, very amazingly, if we see our Indian culture, if we see our different personalities, the devatas, the supreme personality of Godhead, practically we will see the lotus everywhere. Let's see some examples in our upcoming slides. We will see. Yes, so you can see how Lord Brahmaji is sitting on a lotus flower. Lord Vishnu is having a flower in his hand. Mother Saraswati is sitting on a lotus flower, a lily flower. Similarly, Mother Durga is having a lotus flower. Similarly, Mother Saraswati, all of many devatas, many wonderful expansions of the Lord, they are having the lotus flower. So this flower must be special, isn't it? Otherwise, wherever you see a lotus. So what this flower signifies to all of us? Practically, you cannot hide this particular flower in Indian culture. It is like so very common. Not just that, we have seen, all of us have also heard and read that how from a spiritual world to material world, in a spiritual world also, you see the Golok Vrindavan. I hope all of you might have studied Journey of Self-Discovery course, and in that you might have been aware of that how the material world and the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, the Golok Vrindavan, it looks like a lotus flower. And similarly, in material world also, if you see the first personality, that is Brahmaji, who comes from the navel of the Lord, that is, he also comes on a lotus flower. So you see the first creation in this material world is the lotus flower on which Brahmaji appears. So if you see practically from the very spiritual world, which is eternal, the in the most topmost planet of spiritual world, that is Golok Vrindavan, that is having the lotus shape, lotus flower is there. And along with that, we see even in material world, the first creation, that is Brahmaji, he is also coming on the lotus flower. So a person who is thoughtful must try to understand why the lotus is everywhere. And not just that, is this lotus going to teach something? Is this lotus something very significant for all of us? And that is what we are going to discuss today. Not just that, we see practically so many verses in Srimad Bhagavatam and different places how Lord's all limbs are also compared to lotus. Yeah. Namah Pankaj Nabhaya, Namah Pankaj Maline, Namah Pankaj Netraya, Namah Namaste Pankajangrahe. How Lord's navel is compared with lotus. This prayer is offered by Kunti Maharani, and how the Lord's wonderful eye petals, they are also like lotus petals. Similarly, Lord's lotus feet is also considered as it looks like the lotus flower. Practically, if you see, Lord's all limbs are compared to lotus. See, even Lord's lotus feet we do see as lotus feet of the Lord. So, the lotus in a spiritual culture, in our Indian culture, we just cannot and cannot remove it. It is integral part of Indian culture and the spiritual substance of the Vedas. The lotus is integral part. If we go and study the scriptures, if we read verses, if we see different expansions, if we see Lord himself, practically we will see one flower everywhere, and that is lotus. Similarly, if we see Lord's lotus feet also, among all different symbols, one symbol is there, and that is the lotus. You can see in the feet of the Lord. So even though Lord's lotus feet is called as lotus feet, in that lotus feet also there is lotus as one of the flowers symbol. So with this background, isn't it very interesting that we must try to understand the significance of this lotus? Of course, one of the reason that why Lord's all limbs and everything is compared with lotus is the most beautiful flower, and it is the only flower with which it can be a little bit come close to the beauty of the Lord. It is not that Lord's beauty can be compared exactly with the lotus. No, lotus can come little close to the beauty of the Lord. Otherwise, Lord's beauty is far, far, far superior, and it cannot be compared with anything material. That is the reality of Lord's beauty. However, our focus right now here is to understand the lotus, the significance of lotus. Why? What is so special in the lotus? And we will learn some lessons from it. So let's go ahead. We are going to discuss today 5 principles to bloom like a lotus. And please be very attentive, because each of these principles we are going to go in detail, and hopefully let's see if we will be able to complete 1 or 2 principles in detail today. So we are moving ahead. The first principle, if you are able to see in the screen, learn from different petals of life. That is starting from the word alphabet L. So my dear friends, this is so very simple. As we see the lotus, there are different petals are there. Lotus means it is not one petal very big. There are so many petals, and it is spread in all directions. So the first thing which we have to recognize from this lotus is to recognize different petals which are there in the lotus. So let's see few very interesting and important things in life. What are different petals? So you have education, you have your career, you have your health, you have your personal family, and there are so many different things. So this is like different petals of life. Now, very interesting, we are discussing this in IYS Wisdom series because the lotus blooms not when it is at the fag end of its life. And it just doesn't bloom the very first day. It blooms at right time. And that time is the youth time. You know? So similarly, the youth time which all of us are having is the prime importance. It's of prime importance because at this particular time, all the petals of life need to be properly and very nicely bloomed. That's why the purpose of this seminar is to first become aware of different petals of life. Many a time we become very much, very much focused on only one petal of life. However, when we recognize that these different petals of life are so very important, if only we have given proper justice to all these petals, not only the lotus will look very blossomed, but we will also be having amazing satisfaction that, oh, yes, this flower is very beautiful. And it will enhance practically all of our satisfaction in life, and other people also will appreciate the blossomness of our life. So let's go ahead. The first aspect which we are discussing is learning from different petals of life. And what are the different petals of our life? Different dimensions which we saw. One dimension is education, another dimension is career, another dimension is your health, and of course one of the core dimension is the spirituality. So let's move forward, and we will see here different petals separated and together. You are seeing on the screen how when the petals are separated, how it looks like. Yeah, these are petals, but it doesn't look like it's a lotus. It's a complete lotus. But when it is together, how beautiful it is, and how people have a wonderful, as soon as they see this, they have a very wonderful experience of it. They become attracted to it. So this gives a very clear and important message. Many a times we have all these dimensions of our life, all these petals of our life. If we just keep them separate, okay, my education is separate, my health is separate, my family is separate, my spiritual life is separate, I don't have to mix all these things, then that flower will not be a blossomed flower. That flower will not be a very attractive flower. That will not give us a complete joy in life. We will see different examples which will signify this particular point. However, just see this particular picture, how when all the petals are together, how it is so beautiful and so very attractive. So there is called isolated growth. Isolated growth means, yes, I would focus on each petal and I will just, this I am going to go ahead. My health, okay, my family, okay, my career, my education, that's it. So isolated growth, I just read one story, very simple. And here is a boy coming from a very nice family, and he was very nicely from very talented background. He used to learn things so quickly. Within 3-4 days, he used to master certain kind of art or certain kind of drawing, and he was so very absorbed in it that he literally didn't give any kind of focus in any other aspect. He just remained very absorbed, and different kind of painting he continued, and he was very happy. Later he realized that because he didn't take care of his bodily situation, what happened? The doctors told that now you have a very severe disease, and that disease is due to your not moving. You remain stagnant at one position, even though you like doing drawing, but now the situation is such that you cannot, you will not be able to move your posture from this posture to any other posture. Just see, he was so very successful, he was so very happy while drawing, and he was mesmerizing people by his art. He was so very talented, but he just focused on only one aspect, such isolated growth. And what happened? Even that growth in that particular field, did it continue for long period of time? It just remained for just like a Diwali cracker. It so very nicely came up, and then after some time, it just practically, finished, got finished. However, if this boy would have recognized that, oh, yes, I have this wonderful art, this is one dimension of my life. Along with this, I would also ensure other petals to be also remain in a very much balanced way. And what other petals? Had he focused on little bit health also, then what would have happened? This particular petal, which was one of his key strength, it could have given him much more beautiful satisfaction for long period of time. Similarly, it do happen in our lives also. Many a times we just focus on only one side, only one petal. Sometimes people become so career conscious, which is good for some time. There is no doubt about that. We must focus on it. At the same time, not at the cost of all other petals. A person is very, very much career conscious, and then he just makes his family members and everyone just rather than getting blessings, he receives curses because of his very much isolated approach. And what happens? Even though he becomes successful for some time, but that success doesn't last long. However, if he very nicely considers that, okay, apart from isolated growth, I will also ensure that I will blossom in all dimensions. I will have integrated growth, harmonious growth. Just you see, harmonious growth or integrated growth. Then what will happen? His all those qualities, his all those talents, his all those beautiful, wonderful gifts of Lord would be sustained for a long period of time. And not just sustained, he will himself also be a wonderful example in the society. Now I am giving another example. When I was in IIT Kharagpur, and one of my dear friend, his he was coming from a very humble background. His father, he was not very rich from one perspective. However, he had kept everyone in his family, that my dear father and my dear family members, I am going to IIT Kharagpur, I am going here, but I will ensure that all of you will have a smile in your life. And what he did, he very nicely studied properly. At the same time, he knew that there are certain values which I have to take care of, and he was quite focused in his study. Along with the study, he also was very, very much particular that along with the study, my relationships and my different responsibilities are also equally important. He, along with the study, he also ensured the marriage of his sister. He did his all whatever responsibilities were there. Along with that, he also ensured that the family is in proper shape, because he was the most he was the one on whom the family was depending upon. So in this way, after his graduation, post graduation got over, everyone, his family members, they were praising this son, that how nicely not just he did his education, but also he did his responsibilities. He took care of the responsibilities so nicely that all of us are right now in good situation because of his responsible nature. Just see, my dear friends, if this person would have just focused on isolated growth, just isolated growth, no, only my career, had he been received such wonderful smile from the family members, such wonderful inspiration which he has given now, and other people are, very much appreciating that, oh, such a wonderful son of this family. He not just studied properly but also ensured that entire family is happy. So that is what is harmonious growth, or integrated growth, where we know that we are not just a student, or we are not just an employee, we are not just a family member, we are not just a fitness freak. Rather, we are someone who has all these dimensions in our life. We are a devotee. Along with devotee, we are also having our responsibility in our family. We have also responsibility in our corporate world, and wherever we are working, or if we are studying, we have also responsibility at that particular place. And when we know in this way, then the growth which we will take in our life, that will be harmonious and integrated growth, and that will give amazing satisfaction to that person, as well as it will give a legacy. It will create a legacy for all others. So my dear friends, classic example in this case is example of Arjuna. Lord Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. All of us know that dear Arjun is an expert archer. There is no doubt about that. He is the best archer at the planet. At the same time, he is completely controlled. He is completely self-controlled person. It means amazing character. Amazing character with amazing competence. Amazing competence in terms of the best in his archery, and best in his military strength. And amazing character means amazing value system. Even in this situation, when Arjuna in the battlefield, he gets confused, and he was taking a isolated route, isolated growth he was thinking upon. What kind of growth he was thinking? Okay, let me just move forward for just my spiritual salvation. I would not like to fight here. This fight is not good. But then Lord didn't encourage that. Rather, he focused that Arjuna should create an example where his growth would inspire many others. His growth would inspire everyone else, so that all other would understand the importance of balancing the different dimensions of one's life. So my dear friends, here I would just ask you a simple question to all of you, and you may think upon it and reflect upon it, and we will just discuss in 2 minutes. Here is a person, a very, very powerful person. He has so many talents. He has so many talents in his in his hands. Wherever he touches, he becomes successful. Whatever he just starts, he 100% for sure he completes it. Now everyone appreciates this person's amazing potency. Wow, here is a person, if you give him anything, he will become successful. Whatever he will start, it will get completed. My dear friend, I have a simple question to you about this person. Can you tell me that if this particular quality he has, that whatever he starts, he completes it, just this quality will make him a successful person in life? He will be very much contented in his life. He will be very much satisfied in his life because of only this particular thing, that yes, here is a person who is an achiever, who whatever he starts, he completes it. Here is a person who whatever projects he takes, he just becomes successful in it. Do you think that this particular quality in itself will make this person a very happy and satisfied person? Or do you think that he requires something else also? Just think upon it, reflect upon it. Because many a time we consider success in our life to be, yes, whatever I take in my life, I become successful, I complete it, I just, immediately, or at the end, I get the result. Do you think that this is what is the real satisfaction which this person is expecting in his life? Or this is the real goal of his life in real sense? This will be his real purpose of human existence, that whatever project he takes, he completes it. This is where, if you will think properly, our scriptures comes into picture. Here scripture gives that in our growth, in our integrated growth, there is a center. If you see here harmonious growth, the picture, there is a center. The center is the beautiful whorl of the lotus, and that whorl tells that all other dimension of our life, all other aspect of our life should be harmonized in such a way that the center would be very, very prominent in our life. And what that center is all about? The center is to know our true self, to know what will make our true self completely satisfied and happy. And that is what is a spiritual dimension of life. This particular dimension, if we remove and if we focus on all other dimension, we are healthy, we are wealthy, we are wise, and we are having everything, but not having a spiritual aspect in our life, then what will happen? Even though externally it will look very nice, rose petals, very nicely looking, but without the whorl, it will not sustain. The lotus will not sustain without the whorl. The petals will not sustain without the whorl. And that whorl is the spiritual foundation, our identity, that we are not these bodies, we are spirit souls. And that's where Bhagavad Gita and association of devotees and satsang comes into picture. Because if this particular center is not nourished, even though we are good from family perspective, from corporate perspective, from our education perspective, from all other perspective, then without this, all our successes will be in one way empty. Because if the center, it is the center which sustains the all other petals which are around it. But without the center, if all other petals are there, it may not remain together for a long period of time. And more important than that, it will not give us satisfaction. It will not touch our heart. And at the end of life, we will feel very much vacuum. And that's why we see many people, they have become so successful in lives. Alexander the Great, we say. But what happened to Alexander the Great? When he was leaving this body, he told that keep all the opulences and everything just around me, and keep my hands open, so that I would show the entire world I am not able to carry anything. See, my dear friends, even though we have taken care of all other aspects of our life very nicely, we have good health, physical dimension, we have very good family emotions, emotional life very good, social, where we have very good friends, social life also very nicely, we are academically very MTech PhD from IIT, or from MBA from IIM, or Harvard degree we may be having, or best of the best job we may be having. Along with that, we have quite good fan on YouTube, or Facebook, or different places. Whatever we say, there are so many likes. But why do we see that even though having this kind of successes, people, many a time they take extremes in their lives? Why do people, even though it is looking externally so very successful, but they take such extreme harsh step in their lives? Why? The reason is, even though externally we may be growing our petals in such wonderful way, the petals may be very, very attractive, but the whole, the center, that center is not nourished. That center is the spiritual growth. That center is our spiritual identity. Our heart remain empty, because we are not part of some material success or material dimension. We are part of a spiritual dimension. We are part of the Supreme Lord, part and parcel of Supreme Lord. That famous story you might have heard many a times, that there is a parrot in the cage and there is a cage, and the person thinks that, oh, I am taking care of the parrot nicely by painting the cage beautifully, with golden color, and he feels, wow, wow, I am doing my service to this parrot amazingly. And what happens? After some time, the parrot is found dead. Why? Because the nourishment which parrot needs is different from what this particular person is doing with the cage. Similarly, all other petals are important. We have to take care of it, no doubt about that. And that gives beauty to the petal, beauty to the lotus. Our physical dimension of life, our economical dimension of our life, our social dimension of our life, our emotional dimension of our life, our mental dimension of our life. However, if we don't take care of a spiritual dimension of life, we will be empty in our lives. We will be empty in our hearts. Just like being a spirit souls, being part and parcel of Krishna, we need a spiritual growth. We need a spiritual touch. And without that, even if we have all other dimensions very beautifully taken care of, very beautifully, growing up, but if this dimension not focused, not given right kind of nourishment, then we will not be having the lotus completely blooming, completely blossomed. So my dear friend, the first aspect of today's discussion is to recognize in our lives different petals of life. Very, very clearly identifying that, okay, I have my family, I have my job, I have my studies, I have my economics, money matters, and I have my health, I have my social surroundings, everything. And also I am having myself, a spirit soul. I am a spirit soul, and I need the Supreme Lord. I need devotees. I need a spiritual nourishment. And if we taking care is second step. The first step is to recognize what all I do have in my life and what do I need to blossom all these petals. So when we are aware of different petals of our life, then automatically we will be focusing on the harmonious growth or integrated growth of all these petals. So this is the first point, learning the different petals of our life. Once we know that which all are my petals, then the second point of how we will grow in all this petal will come up. And that is our next principle. This is principle 2, which we are moving forward. So in first principle, we discussed to recognize, to learn the different petals of life. And in different petals, we did see there is one very, very important dimension, and that is the center of all, and that is a spiritual dimension. There is physical dimension, there is mental dimension, there is the social dimension, there is intellectual dimension. So many dimensions are there, but there is one is a spiritual dimension, which is the whirl of the lotus. And if we take care of this whirl of the lotus, the spiritual dimension, along with it, if we take care of all other dimensions, we will be happy and satisfied, and the lotus will be really blooming. So now we are moving to the second principle for today, and that will be our session till second principle, and rest 3 principles we will be discussing in our next session. So let's go to the next principle. All of you will be able to see in the screen now. The second principle, once we recognize the different dimensions of our life, recognizing the war like a spiritual dimension, the second aspect is opening up in an optimistic way. That is from the word alphabet O of the lotus. L, we saw that learning the different petals of life. O is opening up in an optimistic way. So what does it mean, opening in an optimistic way? When we recognize that these are the different petals of my life, these are different dimensions of my life which I have to enhance, then we have to be optimistic, and we should open it. We don't have to become very much afraid of. So this particular principle we are discussing. Let's go ahead. You are seeing here a wonderful landscape, and here is the path. Now, seeing this path, everyone will feel, oh, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and take my vehicle very nicely in this road. So, when a person is very optimistic in one's life, when a person is ready to drive, when a person is very much eager and happy to take his journey ahead, when he is optimistic. So, the flower, the lotus flower, this lotus flower is not thinking what will happen. Pata nahi abhi main, if we will little bit blossom or we will try to open up different petals, what will happen? No, it very nicely starts in a very optimistic way. Let's open up. So, opening up, the first key requirement is having optimism. Having optimism. And one of the biggest stumbling block in having optimistic attitude is the fear factor. Let's go to the next slide. In life, the first obstacle in opening up is fear. We become very much fearful. Arey, pata nahi what will happen. My God, if we'll open up, I don't know what will happen. So this fear is one of the biggest obstacle which stops a person in opening up. Now, my dear friends, fear is a very powerful emotion. Very powerful emotion. There is no doubt about that. It has such an impact that it can just create like a permanent stumbling block. I remember in my BTech when I was doing, one person had told me, just there was one paper, I hope you might be aware, engineering drawing. And in this engineering drawing, this person told me that, oh, this particular personality, if he will become determined that I will not pass, then no one can pass. This teacher is so very determined and so very clear. If he makes his mind that isko pass nahi karna hai, then no one can pass. And somehow or other, I had come from such a background, I had never failed earlier, and now this teacher, once he just became a little bit angry because I smiled, and everyone else told, ho gaya abhi aapka. Now, gayo. Did you understand? It means now this paper you will not be able to clear. They very clearly told. Now the exam is there, and the drafter, the entire thing. I went in the examination hall, and this teacher, very stern looking, very he was moving in the entire classroom, and I was there. Believe me, I can say with my whole heart, I had never become so fearful in my life. Not because I didn't know all those pictures how to draw, but just because the fear factor. And what was the fear factor? I had never failed in the exam, and here now everyone has told. The seniors also told, "Iske, you laughed, gone. You'll not be able to clear that paper." And what we hear in Bhagavad Gita, that how Arjuna was very much, his mouth were drying, and his entire body was quivering. That kind of experience also I was having. My feet was shaking. Why? Because I was fearful. My God, pata nahi abhi kya hoga, I will not be able to clear this paper. Then somehow or other, because coming from a religious background, coming from somehow, I remembered the Lord, my Lord, please, I am really in a very much, it's like I'm not able to cope up with this particular fear. And then I remembered, and then I told, okay, let's give my best. And then what happened? I just remembered the Lord, and then I told, let's go in an optimistic way. Let's open up whatever will happen. And step by step, I took, chalo, abhi one drawing, okay, one line, and then second line, and third line, and then I just literally didn't focus that the teacher is moving. My focus was one step, one line, next line, and in this way I completed entire drawing. All whatever questions were there. First 15 minutes, can you imagine? I was very much fearful. I was not optimistic, but then I didn't focus on the teacher or whatever is around. I just focused on, okay, let me open up, let me do in an optimistic way, let me give my best. And then what happened? I started to draw each one line at a time. As we say, one mantra at a time. Similarly, I started one line at a time, and later I completed the entire engineering drawing paper. And then I told, oh, I did my duty. That's it. Now let's leave it on Lord. And still, friends told, don't have hope. Even though you did, we have seen in the history, many people, they did their drawing, but they didn't pass. I told, I did my best, and now I'm not worrying. And lo and behold, what happened? What was the result? What do you think? What will be the result? The result was I passed. And not just passed, I passed with very good marks. In that particular paper, it was like one of the highest scorers. So how in our life, many a time, this dimension of fear, this particular thing, fears, which becomes one of the biggest obstacle in opening up. So we have to understand this factor, that we have to not become victimized or become some kind of completely cocooned. Cocooned. It's like how many times we create our own barriers, our own cocoon in which we just become settled down because of the fear. So we have to give up the fear. And how the fear can be given up? Is there any sutra for the fear to be given up? Rather than focusing on the fear, if we focus on the positive side, if we focus on what we have, then the fear can be easily given up. So just see, this is a very interesting slide. All of you might have seen. There is 3 zones of our lives: zone of comfort zone, zone of growth, and zone of panic. So why we are discussing this? In opening up in different dimensions of our life, in opening up, in order for our petals to open up, these are the 3 zones. One zone is comfort zone. Oh, it's so good, so nice. I don't want any disturbance. Wow, it's very good. It's cool, cozy, calm, wonderful. And what will happen? This is comfort zone. My dear friends, comfort has never created a very powerful the potency which a person has never come in a full-fledged way when a person has in his comfort zone. Similarly, there is growth zone. Growth zone is the zone where we grow, we are ready to take challenges, and we are ready to move ahead. We are ready to go one step ahead. That is zone of growth. And the third zone is panic zone, where we are completely in panic. Pata nahi abhi, I will not be able to take it. So in order to move ahead in our opening up in different dimensions, we have to give up this comfort zone and panic zone. We have to focus on growth zone, zone of growth. What does zone of growth signifies? The growth of zone of growth is highlighted by we are putting our efforts. We are putting our efforts. However, we have not taken such big a step that we will fall. It means we have taken, for example, a child, the capacity of a child, it can just move one step. What will be the step of that particular child? Okay, 1 feet or 1.5 feet. But if this child remains in a comfort zone, he will not move at all. And if this child, he will take a target that, okay, let me take 5 feet, then it will be panic. Oh, no, he will not be able to do it. So growth zone of growth is I am ready to open. And for opening up, I will take one step ahead. And one step ahead, what does it mean? I will take some kind of little bit of stress. So growth always happen when we take little bit stress. For example, here, those who do some kind of exercise, they have the capacity of 2 kg, 3 kg, weightlifting or something, whatever. But if they have to grow, they increase from 2 kg to 2.5, and after 2.5 to 3. They don't increase directly from 2 to 5. So that is like zone of growth, where we literally increase our limits little by little, such which is achievable, such which is possible, and in this way we grow. So similarly, lotus, if you see, I had seen one beautiful video of Govardhan, a lotus growing at Govardhan Eco Village, and I didn't see that immediately the lotus became like completely blossom. It blossomed gradually, 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 gradually. Similarly, in our own lives also, we have to understand that how we will open up. It will open up gradually, dhire dhire. And please understand, in this growth journey, it will not be a peaceful time. There will be different kind of obstacles, or some kind of force will be required from our side, and that will be going against the comfort zone. Many a time we are very nicely in a very comfortable situation, but in comfortable situation, if we are in, we will not be able to grow. We will not be able to grow at all. But in panic zone, if we will go, if we will take nahi, sometime we hear some motivational class and chalo abhi to bas, abhi मैं दिखा दूंगा दुनिया को मैं ही हूँ वो. But what happens then? It is just for just like Diwali's, this beautiful cracker. It goes and then after some time it's get finished. So that happens when we take uncalculated and quite unproportional kind of targets, and we go into panic zone, and that is also not sustainable. So growth which is sustainable is we are in stress, little bit in stress, and in this way gradually we move ourselves little bit ahead, and this way we start opening up. So one of the key feature in opening up is positiveness. Now I hope you are able to see the screen. Positiveness, yes. So just imagine if a person is not having at all any positivity, he is not having any kind of faith on himself, he is not having any kind of faith about why am I here, what is purpose of my life, I am worth nothing, I cannot do anything, then this person cannot grow. And that's why scriptures do tell us that we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. We have practically all the qualities of the Lord, but in minute quantity. So we must recognize our true self. And what is our true self? We are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. We are qualitatively, we have oneness with the Lord in quality. We have the difference in quantity. Certainly, Lord is infinite and we are infinitesimal, but Lord's qualities are there. So why to become very much negative in life कि मेरे पास कुछ भी नहीं है, I am like worthless? No, we have the greatest worth and that is our connectivity to the Supreme. We are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. So you might have seen this famous picture, my dear friends. Uh, Here is a girl. Just see, and this girl, she lost her leg. You know, literally, there is a mechanized kind of you know support was given, and this girl, she was she ran in a competition. In another picture, you see, if you see it carefully, in another picture, there are different girls who are running, and in that there is one girl with Baisakhi, with a scratches, with that support. Many people, when they saw this particular picture, this girl trying to run, they told already this girl has won, already this girl has won, even though this girl didn't become first or second, because other girls or other children, they could run very quickly. But the very fact that this girl participated in this competition, that itself was so very inspiring. Many people, they appreciated, many people in the Twitter, in different places, they were appreciating this girl. So this is what we have: two choices. Either we can be hopeful or we can become fearful. So when we are opening up in an optimistic way, we should move ahead with hope. And what the hope should be? The hope should be, I am not alone. I am not alone. Lord is situated as Paramatma in my heart. He is my always constant companion. Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. He is always there with me. I am never alone. And Lord Himself is very much supporting me. I am not alone. I was never alone in my life. I am never alone, and I will never be alone. Lord is always with me. And when we have with this hope, when we open up, we can open up in a very optimistic way in any dimension of our life, keeping the spirit, keeping the whole of our connectivity, spiritual dimension in the center. We can really do amazing in our life. With this, we end our today's session, and we will continue the rest part of our presentation in our next sessions. So with this, we end our today's session, and we will continue the other dimensions of life. We discussed L, that is learn the different petals of our life, and O, open up in an optimistic way. And we will discuss TUS, of lotus, in our